Hello everybody and welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator. Wait, that's not right. Hello and welcome back to DCS World. Shoot, that's not right either. Hello and welcome back to KSP POV, where we play Kerbal Space Program in first person. As you may have been able to tell from our intro, this episode is going to be all about the planes. I recently picked up a joystick, the Thrustmaster T16000, and I've just been having a whole bunch of fun playing these, and I figured why not bring it to the KSP POV series, because some of these interior cockpits are just so much fun. So let's go ahead and load up our regular game. We arrive at the KSC in some less than ideal weather. But in the last episode, when Jebediah jumped out of his cockpit, he was having so much fun that he forced Bill and Bob to work on a little project over the weekend, so that way he could feel the rush of the air in his hair again. So let's go ahead and come here to the runway, where we load up what we're calling the little buddy, and that is because it is merely a seat strapped onto fuselage with some engines and a wing. Not much else to speak of. But it does have some science experiments. Nice little warning. I'll let him know that this is not a stunt plane. Jeb, yes, that means you. So I had to strike a bit of a balance with the frame rate and the quality and all this, and so the footage is sped up a little bit for time, as well as for a little bit of clarity. But this is a POV series, so this is a first-person perspective, and this is going to be an episode about airplanes. So if you have motion sickness, if quick, sharp turns of the camera are not for you, this may be a little bit hard of an episode. So I apologize about that, and we'll be returning to our regular content soon. But for now, let's just enjoy the freedom of the clouds. Our first mission is going to take us to just landing on the island runway. And I'm still kind of new with this craft and these controls, so there's going to be a little bit of flipping, but I do gain a lot more control as each flight goes on. So now, because the weather was a little inclement, there's a bunch of fog off the water, and is making locating the island a little bit difficult. We're using the Waypoints Manager mod to kind of assist that. I realized that by putting on SAS I could stabilize my craft a little bit better. Not perfectly, I keep bouncing up and down, but that's because this is a very lightweight craft with a lot of thrust. And we're coming in to the island runway at the wrong angle. I'm going to have to readjust myself here. So all of the flying that you're going to be seeing during this episode is done on that joystick. And I've been doing flights here and there to get a lot more practice with it, and I've gotten a whole lot better. And I've actually just really been enjoying the planes, and I think we're going to translate some of that over to the RP1 series soon, because I can also fly planes in there, and we'll have the added challenge of Ferrum Aerospace. But for now, we're going to enjoy our stock little funky little guy. So as you saw, we definitely came into the island runway at the wrong angle, so we're just going to make a little pass around here. Come back. One thing I love about this particular cockpit, which is actually just a reskinned of the normal external command seat. This is a mod, and I just love the freedom of view that you have. You can just tilt your head in every which direction and be able to see. It's very freeing. Very nice for a little plane like this. Lose a little bit of control as we're heading in very fast. We're gonna try to come in for our first pass. We're gonna try to land. So after we line ourselves up with the runway and then miss it, we hit our parachutes, do a nice little buzz by of the tower. We're gonna come back doing those flight maneuvers that were strictly forbidden. And in true Jebediah fashion, he lands this plane upside down, but safely. Does a bunch of science for the runway, and then takes one last look at his craft before phoning the rest of them to come pick him up. So his maiden voyage, and he can't wait to try it again. So he gets the second airplane, the second little buddy, loaded up on the runway. And his goal now is to discover the Cove launch site. I've heard whispers about it in the building, so we can go ahead and fly over to that, and so we can make use of it. It's a little bit later in the day, but the weather hasn't really let up. A storm is definitely heading for the KSC, so he's going to want to do this as quickly as possible. He looks over the KSC as he ascends, and his eyes focus on that launch pad. And as much as he's enjoying flying, it's that launch pad that he yearns for. And above the cloud layer, he decides to have a little fun. Do a little barrel roll and then come right back down. And he sees that it's storming off the coast over there. But that's generally the direction that he needs to go. So he's gonna just fly through it and see if he can spot the Cove launch site just by eye. And then he starts entering the rain clouds, and you can see the rain passing by him. Lost a little control of the plane, but nothing a short roll can't fix. And we pause for a moment as we take a screenshot. It's too beautiful not to. We decide to take a nice low pass over the hills as we reach a little clear spot in the clouds. Rays of light shining down on us. And we pop in our waypoint because we're probably not going to be able to navigate ourselves to it through this rain. And I decide to leave the HUD because there's very little that can be seen, and I don't want to crash into the ground. I have to keep an eye on my altimeter. That's basically the only thing telling me where I'm at right now. But I can see the water down in the bottom right hand corner. Ooh. I can see the water, so I know generally where I'm at. The rain and the thunderstorms are just so beautiful. Makes flying just all that more sweet. And here we are, coming up on the Cove launch site. And once we gain eyes on it, it is now ours to use. So Jebediah, all he needs to do is land the plane safely, and we'll pick him up. So he just goes for the first stretch of ground that he can, even though it's hilly. Pops his parachutes, which slow him down considerably, because this is a very light craft. And once again, he hits the ground a little too hard and flips over. Jeb's not very good at keeping our planes intact, but he's good at keeping himself intact, and that's the important thing. Alright, Jeb, come on home. So now, if Jeb had waited until the Monday, that he would have been able to pilot our brand new plane, the Big Buddy, which is more of a traditional plane, an actual plane with an actual cockpit, instead of just a seat strapped onto the bare bones. So we're going to go ahead and put some science experiments on this, and because Jeb decided to go rogue with his little stunt plane, Valentina is going to be the one to pilot this one's maiden voyage. And she gets the honor of discovering the Desert Launch Complex, which is a much farther and much more difficult mission. And Jeb has to sit on the sidelines and see her take the glory. But anyways, let's go ahead and hop in this cockpit and get ourselves out to the desert. We have much more information and much more control out of this cockpit. So seat up, engine on, brakes off, and let us go. This plane also likes to take off. It's very easy to fly, very maneuverable, and will be the workhorse of our program for a little bit. So Valentina needs to head 180 degrees. And so she's going to go ahead and pull a bank turn here. Fairly high G's, but nothing she can't handle. And with that, she's going to climb to a higher altitude and get ready for the long journey. And we're going to be flying this all by hand. We're not going to be using any autopilot mods or anything like that. I'm just having so much fun with the joystick that I didn't want to let go of the controls. And I'm just letting it go, and so I'm drifting to a high enough altitude that we're starting to lose efficiency, not going as fast, and we're slowly coming back down. Wasn't really paying attention at this point. I was, looking at my phone, doing other stuff that a pilot does. And eventually I'll notice and get back into a reasonable range. And for some reason my gears decided showing me the error message. Don't know why. So I was struggling with that a little bit. So that's what that flashing light was. Once again, flying too high of an altitude. I start to learn. Each flight teaches you something new. So something I'm kind of excited about, and what this means, what this newly inspired interest in airflight, aerospace technology, what that means is I'm actually more inclined to start building space planes, SSTOs and things like that. With the inclusion of the free IVA mod, I've already been more interested in building space stations, which is something that we haven't really touched on in our series. But yeah, so I think this is going to open up a lot of possibilities for us, and well, you know, for me specifically, but for you to watch. And so SSTOs and other kind of space planes are in our future, I think. And once again, forgetting that I'm not actually on autopilot. I just let the plane coast upwards. And we get a little last minute notification and a series of coordinates to check out. So we're gonna go check out that first. Another one of the whispers around the office. Secrets of the water cooler. So now I can spot the continent that we are aiming for. And so I go ahead and come underneath the cloud layer. And even though there's more aerodynamic drag here, or the drag on the aerodynamic forces is a lot more than higher up in the altitude, I want to be able to spot what I'm looking for. And even though I'm much farther away than I had anticipated, I decided to come down here. But it's nice, we can get a little view of another part of our world. Flying above the desert. We almost hit a couple cactus as we go for a low altitude record. We're just going to let it cruise a little bit. Come right back up through the cloud layer. Take a couple screenshots. And then once again head back for our target. And there we go. She does a little barrel roll of joy as she spots the target. Set of pyramids built long, long ago by Kerbals before her. So she gets as much of a view as she can, but then she has to pull up to avoid hitting the mountainside, and then as soon as she does, she can no longer see the pyramids. But she knows that they exist, and she can prove to everybody using her footage. There we go, and to line ourselves back up, and just roll over. And the sun is setting. It was a long journey, but she is close now. She looks forward to landing her plane and resting her weary wings. And coming quickly upon the runway, she decides to kill her engine and just try to coast the rest of the way. But she's passing at it at the completely wrong angle, so she has to kick back the engine once more to make a high G turn. The Kerbals of this space agency aren't necessarily built for airplanes, so landing is not necessarily intuitive to them. But they're learning. I'm getting better. Here we are, trying to line up with the runway. Our gears are down, going way too fast. Our parachutes help, but we are too high on the runway. We don't have the right angle, and so when we land hard. But Val managed to land upright. Already doing better than her coworker Jeb. So she goes ahead and runs all the science, and then she too hops out to take a look at her successful landing. She doesn't have any wings anymore, but the majority of the cost is still there. The rocket is still intact. Rocket. It's basically a rocket now. But that is going to put the end of today's episode. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're looking forward for more Kerbal Aerospace Program. If you did, please consider giving me a like, drop me a comment, let me know your thoughts, and I will see y'all in the next one. Take care.